Hello friends, welcome back to the new video, and in this video we are going to talk about the kingdom Protista. Okay, so the kingdom Protista, it act as a link. Okay, it act as a link between the simple prokaryotes, okay, and the complex organisms. So it act as a link. It means it falls between the simple prokaryotes and the complex organisms. So it is in between them. Okay. So all single cell eukaryotes, they are placed under the kingdom Protista. Okay. So the kingdom Protista mainly constitute of single cell eukaryotes. Okay. Now let's talk about quickly the general structure of the species belonging to the kingdom Protista. Okay, so the general characteristics. So first of all, I already told you they contain the single cell eukaryote, so they are eukaryote. Okay, eukaryotic. Okay, and example of the species includes paramecium. Okay, chordatum, okay, we have to underline whenever we are writing the scientific name. Okay, so this is a ciliated protozoan with distinct nucleus. So I hope students, I have a video on separate video on the differences between eukaryote and prokaryotes, but here for you I will just define again. The eukaryotic are those species that possess well defined nucleus. Okay, so the eukaryotic species, they have the well defined nucleus and they have the organelles. Okay, membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, and chloroplast. Okay, so the species belonging to the kingdom Protista, they are eukaryotic in nature. Okay, now let's move on to the second characteristic about them. Okay, they can be unicellular. Okay, example amoeba. Okay, or they can be colonial. Okay, so example is volvox. Okay, so the unicellular is a single cell protozoa, that is the amoeba, and the volvox globata, it's form a spherical colonies of individual cells. Okay, now let's talk about their locomotion. So locomotion is the movement. Okay, so the movement we all know is enabled by the flagella or cilia or the pseudopodia. Okay, so the kingdom Protista, they exhibit the locomotion. Okay, so they have the tendency to move. So it can, the movement could be through flagella. Okay, with the help of flagella, cilia, or the pseudopodia. Okay, now let's talk about the habitat. So habitat is the place where the any species is found. Okay, in its natural condition. So predominantly the protists, they are aquatic. Okay, so they prefer the region containing the water. Okay, and they thrive best in the fresh water. Okay, and marine environment also. Okay, and the damp terrestrial areas also. So basically they need water, okay, for their survival. So they are found in those places where there is a water. Okay, and they are also, okay, I will keep it like this. Okay, so they can be found in the symbiotic or the parasitic relationships. Okay, so they exist in both condition, that is in the symbiotic relationship or as well as the parasitic relationship. Okay, so example is the plasmodium. Okay, so it's a belongs to kingdom protista and it reside within our, that is the human host and the mosquito. Okay, as a parasite. Now let's talk about the mode of nutrition. Okay, of the species belonging to kingdom protista. So protists basically exhibit all the three modes of the nutrition. So what are the three mode of the nutrition? The first is the autotrophic. Okay, so the autotrophic, it includes the protists like euglena. Okay, so this will synthesize their own food using the process of photosynthesis. Okay, the second one is the heterotrophic protist. Okay, heterotrophic protists. I will write here protist also. Okay, so the heterotrophic protists, like example is the amoeba. So it will engulf the food particle, okay, via phagocytosis. Okay, so the third is the mixotrophic protist. Okay, okay, so here we understood, right, there are three modes of nutrition. In the first one, the species will prepare its own food. Okay, and in the second one, it will just take the food from surrounding. Okay, and there is a third category also, mixotrophic, means they will, according to the availability of the light, the species will switch to both the modes. So they can be autotrophic and they can be heterotrophic. Okay, the example is euglena only. So it can become autotrophic also if there is a plenty of light, and if there is not, then it will take the food from others. Okay, now let's talk about how the protists, they reproduce. Okay, so the protists, they have the tendency to both reproduce both via the asexual reproduction and as well as the sexual. Okay, so the however, the preferred one is the asexual mode. Okay, so most of the protists, they will reproduce through the binary fission, budding, or the spore formation. Okay, and for the sexual reproduction, the fusion of gamete, it will occur in certain protists such as the slime mold. Okay, and the sexual reproduction, we know that it will ensure the genetic diversity. So now if we are talking about the diversity, then just quickly we will learn about the diversity. So the protist, okay, they will exhibit the vast range of diversity. Okay, they can range from an animal like protozoan to a plant like algae. Okay, and some are highly specialized, okay, with unique adaptation for surviving in the extreme environment. So they exhibit high diversity. Okay, now we will learn about the classification of the protist. Okay, so so now just quickly learn about the classification of protists. So basically protists, they are divided into three types. Okay, the first one is the plant like protist. Okay, this is the first category. Okay, the second one is the animal like protist. And the third one is the fungi like protist. Okay, that's why student, I already told you that the kingdom protista, it is a link between the prokaryotes and with the complex organism, because they have resemblance to the plants also, animals also, and the fungi like. Okay, So that's why they are in the middle. So let's talk about the plant-like protist. Okay. So the example is the algae. Okay, it's a protist. So these include plant-like protist. These will include the photosynthetic protists. Okay. So the plant, we all know, it has the capability to produce own food through the process of photosynthesis. So those protists that exhibit the process of photosynthesis, okay, they are included into plant-like protist. Okay. So they contribute to the oxygen production. These plant-like production, they will contribute to the oxygen production, and it will form the base for the aquatic food chains. Why for the aquatic food chains? Because they prefer mostly the watery area. I told you, right? Wherever there is the presence of the water. Okay. So now this plant-like protists, they are further divided into three types. The first one is the chrysophyte. Okay. So chrysophytes. Okay, so the chrysophytes, it includes the diatoms and the golden algae. Okay. So what are the main feature of the chrysophytes? They are microscopic. Okay. And they are already, I already told you, they are photosynthetic diatoms. Okay. And they have the silica shells that settle to form the diatomaceous earth. Okay. Then there is the second category, that is the dinoflagellates. Okay, so it consists of the marine protist, okay, with two flagella. So the name itself indicates that there is a presence of flagella. Okay, I will write it from with the different sketch pens so that it is visible. So the species, they will possess the flagella. Okay, and some of them, it displayed bioluminescence also. Okay, and the example includes there is the red tide you observe in the sea, right? It is because of the high population boom of species like Goni olex. Okay, and the third species is that in that are categorized in the plant-like protist is the euglenoids. Okay, so euglenoids, they are fresh water protist. Okay, and I already told you they are very flexible. Okay, and they can exhibit both autotrophic as well as the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, so they are basically mixotrophic, and the example from the name, it is very clear, the example includes the euglena. Okay, so basically these are the plant-like protists. Now we will talk quickly about the animal-like protists. So the animal-like protists, they are divided into four groups. The first one is the amoeboid. Okay, amoeboid protozoa. Then there are the flagellated protozoa. Then there are ciliated protozoa. Okay, I think for now you can clearly understand that the name itself usually indicate that how the species look alike or what does it contain. Okay, so what are the characteristics of the protozoa? So first we will talk about the amoeboids. So amoeboids, they will move using the pseudopodia. Okay, and it's pseudopodia. Okay, this will help in the movement. Okay, and it will the amoeba, they will engulf the food via the process of phagocytosis. Okay, so example include is amoeba, of course. The name itself indicate that amoeba. Okay, then the flagellated protozoa are the one that move using the flagella. Okay, and they are often parasitic, and example is trypanosoma. Okay, so trypanosoma, it will cause, it is known to cause the disease sleeping sickness in the human being. Okay, now the ciliated one, we know that it consists of the cilia. So their movement displayed by these protists is due to the presence of the cilia, and they have the complex cell structure, and the example is paramecium. Okay, and the next and the last animal like protist is sporozoans. Okay, so these protist, parasitic protists, they lack the locomotory organelles. Okay, so no locomotion because there is no presence of the locomotory organelles. So example here is the plasmodium. Okay, so we all know that plasmodium caused the malaria. Okay, so the animal, I will repeat it for you. The animal like protist, we are have 4 different kinds. Amoeboids, the name itself indicate the example is the amoeba. Then flagellated, ciliated, they will have the flagella, they will have the cilia for the movement. The example of flagellated is the trypanosoma, whereas for the ciliated one is the paramecium. And there is a 4th category, that is the sporozoan, that lacks any locomotory organs, and the example is the plasmodium. Okay, and these are the parasitic also. So now let's quickly talk about the fungal like protists. So basically there are 2 kinds of fungal like protists. The first is the slime molds. Okay, so the slime molds, these are saprophytic protists. Okay, so they feed on the decaying matters and forming the fruiting body. So example includes the physarum. Okay, then the second category is the water mold. Okay, so these slime molds are parasitic, whereas the water molds, they are often parasitic. Okay, and usually they are parasitic on the plant. Okay, example the Phytophthora infestans. The example is Phytophthora infestans. Okay, so this particular protist, it will cause the potato blight. So now I already told you the examples of the protist. It's they will display the high diversity. So we will just quickly talk about them, like amoeba. Amoeba is a freshwater protozoa. Okay, we know that amoeba is a animal like protist. Okay, then there is a paramecium. Paramecium, we know that it is a ciliated protist. Okay, then euglena is a plant like protist. Okay, and it is quite unique because it will exhibit the mixotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, then there is a plasmodium. Plasmodium, I told you, it's a sporozoan. Okay, animal like protozoa. Then there are diatoms. Okay, so these are aquatic uh, protist, and diatoms are plant like protist. Okay, so what are the, let's quickly learn what are the ecological importance of protist. Okay, kids, I usually like to draw the flow charts so that it is easier to remember. Okay, so first of all, the protist, the first role, important role they will play is the oxygen production. Okay, so the algal protist like diatoms, they will contribute significantly to the atmospheric oxygen level. Okay, because they are capable to perform the photosynthesis. I think you got my point. Okay, so the basically we will write the diatoms. Okay, or any plant like protists, they have the tendency to perform the photosynthesis, so they will contribute towards the oxygen production. Okay, then the second ecological importance of the protist is they are primary producers. Okay, so they are primary producer. So what does it mean? It means that they will form the base of aquatic food chain. Okay, supporting life in the ocean and the freshwater bodies. Okay, wherever they are present. The third important ecological importance of the protist includes that they are decomposers. Okay, so the slime mold, they will break down the organic matter. Okay, and this will recycle the nutrient back into the ecosystem. okay, but they are this is not the ecological importance, but I will write it here for you, that certain protists, they are parasitic also, so they are disease causative. Okay, for example, plasmodium, okay, that will cause the malaria, and trypanosoma, that will cause the sleeping sickness. So both of these protists, they will cause the human health significances, uh, they will affect the human health significantly. Okay, so the economic importance, if we talk about, okay, this is the ecological, and if we talk about the economical importance, then the first we will talk about the diatomaceous earth. So even the protists, they have immense practical application also. So the diatomaceous earth, it is used in the filtration, toothpaste and abrasive, okay, and it is derived from the fossilized diatom shells, okay. So this is used for the industrial application. Second, the protists, they are used for biofuel production. So there are algae like chlorella, okay, spirulina, okay. So these uh, algae, they are cultivated for their sustainable role in and requirement for energy and the nutrition, okay. And the third and the most important is that they serve a very very important role in the aquaculture, okay. So the protists, they will serve as a food for fish and other marine organism, okay. So this is all student in this lecture, but before closing the video, I will just here I will just give you a quick recap of what we learned today. So I will write it here. So what we learned here today about the protists, that they are basically eukaryotic, okay, if we talk about the cell type, okay. And if we talk about the lifestyle, then they can be autotrophic, okay, they can prepare their own food. They can be heterotrophic, okay, they will take the food from outside, okay. They can be saprophytic or the parasitic also, and they are mixotrophics also, depending upon the availability of light. They will just, there are some protists that will just switch their mode of nutrition, okay. And the classification I already told you that classification, they are classified into three types, okay. So one is the plant like, the another was this the animal like protist, okay, and the third one is the fungi like protist, okay. And what are the significance of the protist? So if we talk about the ecological, then they are they will provide the oxygen, okay, and they are the primary producer. They can decompose also, and some of them are pathogenic in nature. And if we talk about the economic importance, then they are used for in the industrial application like the filtration, okay, and they are used for the biofuel production, okay, and for the energy production of energy and nutrition, and they will also play important role as a food for fish and other organisms, okay. So this is all in the present video. I hope this video is clear to you, and after watching this video, you will know you know a lot about the kingdom Protista, okay. Thank you for watching the video.